Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, we have a really interesting read from you from author Dan Lawton from New Hampshire by Skype. Thank you for joining us.
It is free. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, The Greenhouse. It's an award-winning novel. Definitely worth every award you've won so far. But how did you come up with it? You're so good at these twists and leaving us little clues along the way. But you just look so nice, even from 4 years ago. But it's so twisted. How did you do this? And why did you do it to this poor character?
Yeah, so to say twisted is pretty accurate. And so what makes it more twisted probably is that it comes from a real experience in my life. So at the time I began writing this, I had a close relationship with somebody who was going through some of the issues that Gerard in the book goes through with struggling with mental health. And so I had a hard time really understanding this person when I was close to them and what they were going through. And so as a writer, the best way for me to express myself and try to understand it was to put myself in this person's shoes as a character in the book.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing he went through. Besides,
for sure, yeah,
the mental health. I mean, the accusations, the developments that occurred. You know, it was just so sneaky, but it was so well done. It just drew me in. I couldn't put it down until I finished. I literally finished in less than 4 hours.
Well,
and I read it a second time. I was like, really? So tell me, how did you investigate some of the things that occurred? And how do you lay out a story like this where so many things can go wrong at a certain time in a person's life and you have to take stock, evaluate, find things for an outlet? Yeah,
so from the get-go, I knew what the plot was going to be. Without giving too much away, I mean, in the early scene, Gerard, who's our main character, his wife goes missing. And she doesn't drive, but their one car that they share is gone. And so he's concerned, but not too worried, where he calls the police. He's just kind of waiting her out, see if she comes back. And so I knew this was going to be the plot from the beginning. I knew what was going to happen at the end, and I can't tell you that, certainly. You know, but some of the viewers won't know. And so it was the journey in between that I wanted to explore his mental health and what it might be like if that were to happen to somebody. And so that's where it came from.
Why did you choose the greenhouse, and how did you come up as the place where he could go to collect himself, I guess? And the colors that went with it, why are those colors significant?
Yes, so the greenhouse, it's spelled 2 words intentionally, greenhouse rather than greenhouse. One word is like the flower structure. Mm-hmm. And so that's done intentionally. And so the colors behind the novel itself are critical. And so it really starts with the greenhouse being the overarching theme of the book. Green in a lot of cultures represents life. And so it represents Gerard's life. And within his greenhouse, there are 7 different flowers, each that are a different color. And each of the colors represent a different emotion of something that he's gone through in his life. Like, for example, on Mondays, there's a yellow flower, which represents happiness and hope. Tuesdays, pink is for friendship. Orange is for determination and encouragement to move forward. Red is for passion, desire, and love. Blue is trust, loyalty, and forgiveness. Black is death, depression, and morbidity. And then white is for mourning. It goes in that order intentionally, because as the story unfolds, I think the reader will understand why that is the way it is. And so the color aspect of the novel was something that followed for me later. Like I said, I had the plot kind of laid out, but I was stuck for a while, a year roughly, on a larger concept. And that's when the flowers and the colors came in, and it kind of wrapped it all together and made it the thematic expression I was going for.
How many books have you written since 2016 when we first met?
Yeah, so in 2016, we talked about Operation Salazar, which was my second novel. Since then, I've had 3 published. The 4th one after that, so that'll be my 6th book, is under contract to be published in June. And I'm working on my 7th now. So there's been 3 additionals since 2016.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. What other challenges did you encounter? Because, well, it does have some mental health issues in it. The way that you bring us through the sequence of events, I mean, we teeter back and forth between, ooh, is he worse than I think he is? But I don't think we really start to see the mental illness or the issues that he's dealing with ties it all together later on. But we're able to pick up some of the pieces along the way, and that's going to be just incredibly hard to put together.
Yeah, it is trying to find the balance of how many clues to lay down and how much to give away before you give away too much. And so, like, there's one big mystery aside from the main mystery of where his wife is in the novel. And so that unfolds pretty slowly. There's really one incident that affected everything in his life. And so it is trying to find a balance of how to lay those clues down. And I think that comes from having done it quite a few times now, and I read a lot of mysteries as well. And so the combination is just, I think I've learned how to do it relatively well, I think.
Definitely. What I like is that I think in the genre that you write, a lot of mistakes by authors are either that they're too stringent and it seems like they want to be above the audience and they're not going to let you figure it out until they want you to know. You do it in such a crafty way that we're totally sucked into what's going on. And you can't put it down. Yeah. No, you did it with Salazar. And now this one was a completely different twist. It was just like,
yeah.
Oh. I don't know. What were some of the highlights writing this novel? How did it help you to better understand what your friend was going through at the time?
Yeah, so since it was so personal, I wonder whether it served as some sort of healing exercise for me to help me kind of move past it. I mean, it wasn't me who experienced these problems, but being close to this person, I certainly was there through a lot of it, all of it really. And so that was a big part of it. And I think just in terms of craft, this is different than my other novels in that the pacing is slower and there's a stronger concentration on the prose of the writing and the literary craft as opposed to a more plot-driven suspense novel. Mm-hmm. And so I did that on purpose I really wanted to explore that method of writing while still keeping a mystery involved. And so that was gratifying to do that.
Do you actually keep a greenhouse?
I do not. I really know nothing about flowers, frankly. I did some research and stuff, but I do not have a green thumb, as they say.
Wow, because there's a lot of things particular to gardening. So how do you do your research for things like that?
Probably 100% of it's online. Just use Google and research reputable sources. That's pretty much it.
Nice. So is writing now your full-time career?
So yes and no. I don't write fiction full time, but professionally, I am a copy editor and copywriter for an ad agency in New Hampshire. And so I spend my days doing that. And if I'm not too tired at night, I'll work on my fiction. I'm also doing a lot of freelance work, whether it's freelance fiction editing or query letter editing, which is the proposals you make to send out your book to literary agents, as well as just general freelance editing and writing. So yes, I do write full time, but it's not solely on fiction.
What was it like getting your first publishing deal?
It was for my third book, Amber Alert, which is the one that came after Operation Salazar. I think I can't remember, I was 26 or 27, but it was the day before my birthday. I got the first contract in my email. And I didn't really believe it at first. Mm-hmm. It'd been a few years of trying to do it, and it takes a lot of time and effort to do it. And so it was all very exciting. I got to work with an editor and work with the layout team, the design team, and they handled all the background stuff. And it was really nice.
That is really nice. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And I think that, it helps other authors that are just getting into the field. So what would your advice be to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long journey for sure. You can assume it'll probably take at least a year to write a novel. If it's your first one, mm-hmm. Probably double it. And then once you're done with it, then comes the editing, whether it's 3, 4, 6, 8 edits, however many it takes. And then if you want to get it published, it's a whole new game, whether you want to go traditional route and go through a literary agent, or you can go independent publishers, you can self-publish. So you're going to have to decide what your goals are, I guess, what you're hoping to get out of it. You're going to hear no a lot for sure, but if you love it, just keep doing it. The more you do it, the better you'll get. And so my advice is always just keep doing it. Writers write, so just write.
So where can people find your books?
Yeah, they're available basically anywhere books are sold. Most stores don't have them in the store, but they are orderable. Some libraries have them. Same thing, they're orderable in their catalogs. You can buy them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, on my website, danlawtonfiction.com. You can order signed copies there as well. So really anywhere you like to buy books, you can find them.
What else do you do on your website to keep your fans tuned in?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I do freelance editing. And so I have a lot of traction with helping other writers try to get literary agents. I've worked with a couple that have gotten book deals, which is very, very exciting. I have one on my shelf, actually, that he sent me after it was published to read. So that was pretty cool. I don't write blog posts often, but when I have something valuable to share with other writers, I post some blogs on there. I try to keep it updated with my social channels are linked on there, and I post updates of his videos or articles and stuff like that.
Can you give us an example or an explanation of how do you lay these stories out? Is it that you have all sticky notes behind you? Do you have Excel sheets? How do you break down the story so that you have just enough to entice the reader to keep going, but look for the tiny clues along the way. How do you do that?
Yeah, so there's two camps regarding the mindset of this. One is that certain authors outline extensively, they'll outline every chapter and what's going to happen. Others, they call it right by the seat of their pants, where it's just you kind of sit down and see what happens. I'm more of that, although I do keep very basic, just a word spreadsheet, or it's not a spreadsheet, I guess, a word chart. And I just have chapter notes about what's going to happen in future chapters. Really, as long as if I have some idea of how it's going to end, and I know like what the chapter ahead is going to do, I can go from there. And the writing kind of just, it goes where it's going to go. It seems kind of strange, but the characters do in a lot of ways take on a mind of their own. And so you just kind of just follow along with them. And so, yeah, I think the repetition of writing is when it comes to dropping in hints and whatnot. And then certainly when you go through editing, you can fine tune where those things are placed and adjust as needed.
I don't know. There's something else with the way you do it. And I'm not sure if I can really explain it, but it almost seems like you're retelling us a real story that actually took place, because there's no way somebody could just dream this up. All these little things that happened along the way, like there's little things that, going along with everyday life could actually be meaningless, but they tie in the whole story and it's just dynamic.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. I try to, while it is fiction, I do try to make it as realistic as possible. And that, this could be something that happens to you. And so how would you react to it? And so it starts with a question a lot of times, like, what would you do if this were to happen? And so, that's where the big plots come from. And then, I read so many books where there's a lot of explosions or the hero's going to get out, and there's not a lot of mystery to it. And so those get kind of formulaic and repetitive. And so I try to keep it different in that it could be someone's life. And so it's done intentionally.
Yeah, it definitely could be somebody's life. But I mean, from highlights like forgiveness to knowing when to let go of something, even if it's a relationship, knowing when to let go, that it's not good for you, that they're going to have to figure it out before you can welcome them back in their life. Or, being wrongly accused of something, dealing with mental illness to the extent, where some people find their balance together and others need to do it on their own. Like, all those different highlights were really well crafted. And
I said, a lot of it comes from a real place. And so a lot of it is true. Not all of it. Certainly there's some dramatic things that happen that didn't happen in my life, but being how a lot of it's so personal, it comes off on the page as being that way. I think you're not the only person who said that. And so, I'm glad that came through.
It definitely did. And I was surprised because for you, it's a shorter book. It was less than 200 pages.
Yep.
But it was such a rich, full story. It seemed like it could be much longer in your head after you read it. And it's something that you went back and you thought about the next day.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is by far the shortest book I've written, yet it took me double the length of time to write it as some of the other ones. I think it's because some of the subject matter is pretty heavy. And so I had to take a break from it sometimes. It was mentally draining at times to go through it. And when the story ends, I have like a target word count, but I don't worry about it too much. And so, the story's over. It's something like 65,000 words versus like Operation Salazar was like 108,000. And so it really just, when the story's over for me, the story's over, whether it's 70,000, 95, or 110.
I know, but it's an example of really good fiction, that a good story doesn't have to be 1,000 pages to be successful. So tell me about some of the awards that you've won, because they must have been able to explain it a little bit better, possibly, than I did. But you have the Book Excellent Awards finalists, the Indie Book Awards, the Independent Publisher, IP, Book Awards. Was that a surprise? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so as part of my promotional strategy for this book, I thought I would apply for some awards and kind of see how it went. Plum Springs was my book before this. I won the New Hampshire Writers Project Reader's Choice Award for fiction in 2019, and it was really good for PR efforts. And so that was the first really award experience I'd had. And so I tried to keep the momentum rolling and submit to some awards. I think like a dozen overall, and 4 of them I've been either a winner or a finalist. And so percentage-wise, that's pretty good. I guess the biggest win, if you will, would be, like you mentioned, a bronze medalist in the Independent Publisher Book Awards, the IPPY Awards, which is the largest independent book publisher award program in the country. And so that was, you submit, you don't know how reasonable you of a chance you have to win. And so you just kind of submit and hope for the best. They take 6 months or a year to hear back sometimes. And so it's not as if you forget about it, but you get an email that, you're a winner or a finalist. It's really validating, and it's been really good for promotion, and it's helping drive sales. And so it's all been very exciting.
That is exciting. Tell me about your fan base. It's pretty large now.
Yeah, it's starting to grow. Every day it grows. I have a mailing list on my website that people can sign up. And I try to give away stuff periodically. I have some audiobooks that are coming out. Hopefully the next month or so, I'll be doing an audiobook giveaway through an email blast. And people connect to me on my Facebook page and on Instagram and Twitter and on my website. So I'm really everywhere online. And so, yeah, my following grows every day.
What kind of feedback do they give you about the novels you've written?
The feedback has been really good overall. I had someone recently, like a couple weeks ago, I think it was, from Canada, email me and tell me that how much she loved The Greenhouse and that it changed her life. And, she gave her husband a big hug. And, getting those emails, it puts a smile on your face. Like, it's nice to know people are reading it and understanding it and getting the message. And so, that's been good. The reviews across the board have been really solid for all the books. There's some people have criticized The Greenhouse for being too slow, which is fine. The pacing is slow intentionally, but not everyone's going to like everything you do, and that's fine. So the majority like it, and that's really that's all that matters.
I didn't think it was slow. I thought it had a great pace. So that's interesting. Maybe because they're more used to the gangster style evil stuff you do in the other ones, and that wasn't here.
That could be.
This was more real to life.
For sure. Yeah, no question about that.
So what's next?
So I'm doing something a little different for me. For the first time, I'm working on a 3-book series, an adult suspense series, kind of back to my roots a little bit. The first book of the series is going to be coming out at the beginning of June. It's called That Was Before. I'm working on the second book now, almost 100 pages in on that. And so that'll be within a year after that, I hope to be done with the manuscript before the next book comes out, which I'm trending in that direction, certainly. So my first 5 books have all been standalone stories with new characters. This is a new challenge in that it's trying to maneuver how to tell a story over 3 books without wrapping up all the details, which is something that I've never done. But so far, I've been enjoying it, and so yeah, that'll be coming out in 7 months, roughly.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to see the next ones. The series will be great. But your standalone books are outstanding. They're great reads. You've perfected your craft. Seriously. Amazing.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I read a lot and I write a lot, so I hope I get better. That's ultimately the goal. So
No, I think they always get better. I think when
I tend to agree with you.
I just think when you're as driven as you are, that you see it in the writing. It started off great and it keeps getting better and better. So I'm excited to see what's next. Thank you for sharing so much about what you do and your newest work with us, The Greenhouse.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been wonderful.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you want a great book that deals with mental illness, just getting along day by day, The Greenhouse is it.